Hi, everyone. I am Rabia. Welcome to my podcast. And this is the wonderful Dr. Sarika. Thank you so much for joining me, Sarika.
What an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No, the pleasure is all mine. Now, I'm going to dive in. I don't do that wishy-washy stuff, Sarika. So, my first question for you is, in this journey that we call life, what has been your hardest chapter so far?
Gosh, I think there've been so many ups and downs, but I think the hardest by far was going through the 7 years of infertility and IVF treatment that I had. 7 years, I had 14 rounds of IVF before
14
I had
rounds.
my son. Yeah, it was absolutely insane. It was absolutely insane.
What kept you going?
Yeah, and look, started the IVF treatment. I was still an associate and loved what I was doing because I just finished my MSc in restorative from Eastman. So I was really passionate about doing all these big restorative cases. But I decided that I wanted to own a practice. And so that was happening in the background as well. We were looking for a practice, found a practice, bought the practice, took over, and still having to go through it. And I get asked that question so many times that how did you get through this? Because it's not easy. It's not easy on yourself. Relationships break. You hear all these horror stories about things and people giving up and not being able to cope. But I think that every time I had bad news, and there was a lot going on. There was a few things happening that were a shock, and it was also dealing with the shock when you think that you're a healthy person, you eat well, you exercise, career, and that's excelling. Biology just comes in the way, and we're having to deal with both at the same time and manage and balance both at the same time.
Yeah.
But it really put me on that path of a lot of self-awareness, really being okay with who I am and simplifying my life.
You did this all in that 7 year journey.
In that 7 year journey, bit by bit, it's like chipping at it. I grew up in Kenya. I came to the UK when I was 16. I left home when I was 16 when I did my GCSEs, went to boarding school. So there was that whole part of it, that I had to kind of deal with as well. So it wasn't the first time I was put in the deep end. You can say that that journey of that self-leadership started when I was quite young without me being aware of it. And that just learning to be independent, learning to really nurture relationships. I think I really started to value the friendships that I had. And I think that a process like this over such a long period of time, even if you have systemic diseases or whatever you're dealing with medically, when it's happening over a long period of time, it can make or break a relationship. And I think my husband and I just learned to really value each other and lean on each other. One thing that I think actually one of my consultants said to me that, you know what, you've got to also take into consideration what he's feeling. Because a lot of the times the men are just left out of you. You're just focusing on yourself.
Yeah.
And you think, well, I'm going through so much. I don't have space to deal with you. But you have to find the space to deal and talk and communicate and find beautiful, nice things to do that you're both passionate about and kind of ground yourself a little bit.
Was he on the same page in that thinking, which is that's so beautiful, that thinking. I think that's what breaks a lot of relationships, the lack of communication, the thinking about the self and being lost in your own emotions and not seeing your partners. So was he aligned with you, or was that coming from you, that driving force to be like, we need to talk about this, we need to, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I think aligned for sure, but I think that maybe we find with a lot of men that they aren't the best communicators when it comes to this or talking about their emotions, dealing with it. And so that prompt did come from me that, look, let's hold hands, let's talk about it. How are you feeling? Just asking the question to be like, I'm aware that you're also going through stuff and it's not easy for you. And we're in this together. I think it made me feel supported. It gave me hope, and the fact that he was always there to lean on just meant so much to me. We're such opposites. It's really weird because I'm such a Aries. I'm such a fire sign, and my husband Rishi is a complete Pisces. He's like water sign, and so I think in that sense we complement each other really well. And you know what's strange? And I think this is exactly what happens when we kind of have a baby as well, and we go through motherhood and all of that. Is even though it's a traumatic experience in a sense,
Yes.
You don't always remember all the big bad bits,
Mm.
because actually there are big positive bits there as well. So when I'm really trying to remember all the awful things that I kind of went through, I don't know if we subconsciously bury them as well.
We do.
But again, it doesn't show up in any negative way for me. I think in a sense, maybe I've made peace with it. But also the fact that I did end up having this cute little healthy boy, like, just made up for it all.
That's what happens when the baby's born. They say you'll forget, after the bajillionth push or whatever the traumas you go through. They're like, you'll forget. And
Yeah.
you do, otherwise you won't make babies again.
It's so true.
So how old
Like,
is he?
he's 4.5 now, my little angel, but 4.5 now. And but I'll tell you what else as well is just staying busy, is not drowning yourself in being aware of what you're feeling, and
Yes.
acknowledging it is really important to be able to deal with it, but not drowning in the feelings. By then I'd bought my practice, I'd taken over a new team, there was all that happening, building my practice. I was still doing a lot of these big, complex
You
restorative
got on
cases.
with your life. You
You
didn't
just
stop.
do. You just do. And I think when you do stop, I think that's when you can kind of fall into, I wouldn't say depression, but you can fall into a bad space or negative space.
There are a lot of people and a lot of women struggling with infertility. So, what would be your most powerful advice to them? You've done so much introspection, so much education on emotional intelligence. What would you say to them to kind of help them through this chapter or this current season?
So I say the first thing is don't always focus on the negative outcomes. And I'm very open about this, by the way. I talk about my story all the time, and I talk to a lot of women going through infertility issues. And I always say that it's not if, it's when, and it's really going in with a positive mental attitude. Always having hope. Declutter your life and people. Surround yourself with positive people. That's the energy that you need. But the one most important thing is go back and look at what your stress levels are like, because I really think that chronic stress manifests itself systemically in our bodies. And I think a lot of infertility that women go through, especially when they've had all these tests like I have, and you have all these unknown factors, and people can't figure out what's going on. And you hear these miracle stories like, oh, it just happened all of a sudden, and that really it's just down to chronic stress. Because what happens is that when we go into chronic stress, it pretty much shuts down our reproductive system in a sense. It really affects our hormones, it affects our immune system, it affects our entire body, but not just physically, but mentally, emotionally as well.
What do we do? Like women like ourselves, and I think there's a lot of women like that, especially in our profession, that are high achievers, that are driven, career ambitious. And we always have some sort of underlying chronic stress. And I think being dentist is a highly stressful profession. So what do we do? We can't just change all of that. I don't know. What is your advice?
So I think what I've learned is self-awareness. It all starts with that. I teach a lot of self-leadership, and we say step one is self-awareness. Is what happened for many, many, many years is I was this high achiever. It was go, 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 go all the time. And I thought that was part of my personality. I made it my identity, that I'm this go-getter, I'm this high achiever, and this is who I am. But I suddenly realized that this is not sustainable. Being this way is not sustainable, because you have your highs and your lows, and I was always at threshold of burnout. I went through burnout twice, and so I kind of like learned the hard way. But I would really say the first thing is self-awareness. When you feel overwhelmed and it's a pattern that you're recognizing over and over again, or people are telling you that you need to slow down. How many people tell us you need to slow down? Do we listen to them? Right? It's usually our mothers. We need to listen to our mothers and not ignore them. And it's also just the signs of not sleeping very well, but waking up and also feeling like, oh my God, I've got a million things to do.
That's the mental load.
And just taking some time out, it doesn't take a lot of time. It takes 5 minutes in the car, just turn the music off, just reflect and go out for a walk for 5 or 10 minutes. Just sit in your lounge quietly, put on some relaxing music, and just take a couple of deep breaths and just reflect and think that, do I really want to be in this space? Mentally, am I at capacity? Is my cup full? Okay, do I have space for myself? Because I've fill this cup with all these other things that I want to do, most likely for other people, but do I have space in this cup for myself? And that's the most important thing, is you can't give to other people if you're not optimally your best self. Do you know what I mean? You have to prioritize yourself, and it's not the way we think. And it's so important. I was literally telling someone on a coaching call today that, do you know, like, you have to take 5 to 10 minutes out of your day just to reflect and ask yourself, what have I done for myself today? Is this how I'm feeling now? Is this the way I want to feel? It's simple questions, you know?
I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, what have I done? I brushed my teeth, I put some makeup on, and got onto this call. I was like, what have I done? I think after becoming a mother as well, there's nothing left for myself, I almost feel like, and I have these conversations often with women. I know you have to fill your own cup first, put your mask on first before you help others. I know all of these things. You just don't know where to start. And I love the fact that you said self-awareness. So, there are gadgets that can help us see how we're taking care of ourselves. But I mean, where does somebody begin? Let's say we've got the self-awareness. We know we've got too much. The mental load is massive. We're taking breaks. We're thinking about it. But I'm like, where do I go from here? I know I need to make a change, but how?
Yeah. And then the next step is taking action. Okay? So it's committing to one tiny thing. It's not a big thing. It's
Yeah.
just basically saying, okay, let me look at my week, and on sitting down, and the best thing is to write things down. We need to come away from our gadgets. Just write it down on any piece of paper. I just find like scrap, like receipts and stuff sometimes that I'm just like writing on the back of in the kitchen. And just like a Monday to Friday, and thinking, okay, on this day, and the first thing that comes to your mind, right? Like just thinking through Tuesday and being, what can I get 5 minutes? Wednesday, when can I get 5 minutes? And the same thing, and just putting it in, and then putting it into your diary, and then making it as a non-negotiable. So you select your favorite color, or a color that pops, and it's in your diary, because that's all of us busy women. We have packed diaries. We have to be good at time management. So we refer to our diaries all the time. And so just put it in that diary as a 5-10 minute non-negotiable, and in a color that pops up to you. So when you look at your diary in the morning, it's already, your brain is recognizing the fact that this time is reserved for yourself. And then you have to stay accountable to that. That's step 3.
That's where we fail. This is where we fail.
Well, this is it. And you know what? If you feel that you're not good at the self accountability, because that's a habit that you have to create. All these are little habits that you're creating for wellness for yourself, long term sustainability, and not being through that cycle of overwhelm, burnout, and pulling yourself out of it. So it's accountability. And if you feel that you're not great at holding yourself accountable, then you need to have maybe a buddy. Just find someone that that can just hold you accountable. Meet someone who's going through the same thing, where you just WhatsApp each other in the morning and be like, hey, like, what time are you doing your me time?
Yeah, this is something I actually want to create, like an accountability partnership within DMN. This is the thing, like as high achieving women, constantly I'm flooded with ideas. I'm like a business women's group to help each other. Then a business people who want to buy practices, help them, and then also those that are trying to take care of their lives, like a group for them. And it's funny when I hear it, I'm like, yeah, I want to do that, because I tried to make my husband my accountability partner, but we're like really bad. We're just like, okay, let's just chill out. Let's just like
Yeah,
not do what we're supposed to be doing, and we end up working or doing the opposite of what we want to do. So
exactly.
this is it comes into now time management. What would you say are your non-negotiables? How have you held yourself accountable and created boundaries, that stick, and been good around time management? Because this is a big topic that comes up a lot with women that have too much on their plate. So what is your
Yeah.
advice there?
So I think when you have too much on your plate, you have to be the queen. You have to be the queen of managing your time, because time is the most precious commodity that we have. Okay, it really is. And once time goes, it doesn't come back. So it's not something you can create. So it's just, first of all, recognizing that and valuing time. And I think for me, it's just about having a routine. And it's not everyone is a routine person, but it works for me. So I'm a 5 a.m. girl.
Oh, you're not
Yeah.
that girl.
I'm that girl. I'm that girl. And I'll tell you why. I am a morning person. I've got energy in the morning, but my son doesn't wake up until 7:30 in the morning, okay? I'm blessed. I know it doesn't happen for everyone, but you might have kids that wake up at 6 or 6:30 or whatever it is, right? So whatever it is, the fact that I wake up at 5, it gives me some time to myself. The house is completely quiet. There's no one around. I can go downstairs, just really make a nice cup of coffee, which I love, and then I will read, I will do some work if I have to. I've got something to prepare. Then I'll be doing some work for, presentations, talks, whatever. That has to happen at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's the only time I get to write my articles, to do, stuff for like podcasts and anything. If I'm talking somewhere or whatever it is, presentations that I have to do, it's the only time, and anything that I'm doing for Flourish as a Female, that's the only time I have dedicated, to do that. Or 2 to 3 times a week, I exercise as well. So I'm in the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning till 7. So I'll get up, have my coffee, read something like on a book or Blinkist, or listen to a podcast or something that's going to inspire me. I want to take something that I've taken away for the day and I think, great, learned something's inspired me or motivated me. And then that really energizes me for the day. And I'm a bit premenopausal right now as well. So, I've been doing some weight training for a few years and I feel really good in myself for that as well. And then the day starts. I work 2 days fully clinically, long days. And I have one day which I do consultations online, and it's a lot of treatment planning happening. So it's 3 kind of work days and 2 days for staff meetings, admin, things that I've got to, and then I'm at home. So you can imagine all the house stuff that needs doing as well. And not everyone has help, So it's for those women out there that don't necessarily have help or childcare or whatever it is. We've always got our house things to do. So doing your bit, because I don't do everything, I delegate. And so doing that bit, but also in that time, if I've got time to just go out for a walk, take a few minutes, read a book, like catch up on an episode on Netflix. I didn't watch TV for like years and years. And now I'm just like, do you know what? I'm allowed to do this. It's okay. It's also telling yourself it's okay to have a
Giving
break.
yourself the permission
Yeah,
to,
or have
yeah.
half a day or a me day or whatever it is, and being okay with that.
Why do we feel guilty? Why? Why is that guilt there? I literally had that on my cousin's WhatsApp group, and then she was like, "Oh, I just took the day off and just gave the kids like freezer food, but I feel so bad having a day off." And we were like, "No, don't be silly, you deserve it." But we would feel bad doing that. Why? Where's this
I think
guilt?
it's I think it's connected to the fact that we're just doing things all the time. So it's our brain almost being like, whoa, 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 like what's going on here? Like you're normally going at 120 miles an hour. Like, why have you slowed down? What's wrong with you? Like, what's going on? And it's that happening. Actually, if you think on a deeper level and you just close your eyes and take a breath, that's what's going on. If you think of your thoughts, it's like, I've got to do this, I didn't do this, I've got to do that. And why am I sitting here when I've got all these other 1,000 things to do? What a waste of time when I could be getting on with all these things. And now that I'm not doing it, I'm sitting here like doing whatever, I'm going to be behind on all of that. And then stress, chronic stress, and you're just in this cascade of stress hormones through your body constantly.
Do you think we are more stressed than our parents were? Like, I never used to hear growing up my mum say, "Oh, I'm stressed," or even though they had more problems, like whether they had financial worries, whatever their worries were, back home family problems, I never heard them use the word stress. Whereas now it's just common. Everybody is stressed. All my patients are stressed. Everybody has TMJ issues or ulcers or some sort of stress.
Yeah. And I think I know why. I was talking to my mum about it. My grandma's turning 90 next year. If you saw a picture of her and what she does, and you saw her in person, you're going to be in awe of who this woman is. She's my major inspiration. So the 3 of us were having a nice cup of chai in the afternoon on my mum's balcony in Nairobi. And we were talking about exactly this. And what they've pointed out is that, yes, they had big things going on in their life, and there were things that were stressful. But we have so much more around us. We're constantly being stimulated because the world is so busy, busier than it ever was in their time. And so then we sat in the car and we went somewhere, and my mum said, "Look, we always drove this way to go to this mall. Do you remember what there was on the road when you were younger? Like, what would you see out of the window?" And I'd say, "Oh, I'd mostly see trees, and see the odd building." And she's like, what do you see now? And she was listening to what I was telling my son. And she's just like, there's a clock, there's a building, there's a motorcycle, there's an advert, there's all these things going on. And she said, just look at that. Like what your brain is taking in visually is constantly being bombarded. And then what's happening is your subconscious mind is then thinking, is this a threat? Is it real? Right? So your mind is ticking all the time because we're constantly being stimulated.
We need to move out into nature and throw our phones in the bin.
That's why we need it. That's why I live where I do. When you ask me, because I lived in the city for so many years, and now I feel like you need that environment sometimes, just to be out in nature and reconnecting with nature, because nature's frequency is 432 hertz. And when we can bring our body's frequency and energy to 432 hertz is when people say we feel grounded. I feel at peace. And a lot of meditations are at that frequency as well. But just going out in nature and going for a walk, why do you feel better all of a sudden? It's because you're connecting with that frequency as well.
I've got this ring now to kind of help me sort out my frantic life. And the other day it said to me, I was looking at the stats of when I've energized, stressed, relaxed, and it was like, oh, you were relaxed at this time for 55 minutes. And I was like, okay, what was I doing at 4:30? I was in the garden pulling up weeds, and when I was doing it, I didn't think I was relaxed. But my mind was focusing on pulling up the damn weeds that were growing. I'm like, these stupid weeds. And I was dealing with that. I wasn't thinking about the bajillion things that are constantly going on in my mind. And even though my kids were running around jumping off the climbing frame, all I was thinking about was the weeds and yes, the kids. But you're right, it must be something to do with the frequency and that constant barrage of information is what's giving us that chronic stress. I never thought of it like that. I thought, oh, if I feel relaxed, I must be relaxed. But no, this is constant conversation in my head. It's constant noise.
And that's what gardening experience did for you. Just took away the noise and it just brought focus onto one task. And actually, you know what? We get to do that in dentistry, believe it or not. We get that kind of focus in dentistry and we get into that kind of
Flow.
Yeah, it's called mind flow, and it's really where your brain is actually just focusing on that one thing, but you're not even kind of consciously fully there. It's because you've done it so many times that you're just kind of subconsciously being able to get on with it, and you don't have nothing else in your mind. Doing big treatments, especially endodontists, why do they love doing endo sometimes? It's just because they're in flow, and they're following a procedure that they've done thousands of times, and it's just repetition. And when we'll start to find that when we're experienced clinicians, that we can do that with all the treatments that we do, we actually get into flow. So believe it or not, there's a part of dentistry which is super stressful, but then you've got this other aspect of it where if you actually plan your day really well and you're doing the dentistry that you love, you're in a team and an environment that supports you, and you can actually plan the treatments that you're doing in a way that you want. You have lovely patients, you have great relationships with them, you're able to build that rapport and build that relationship. We can have flow every single day at work.
Well, as a practice owner yourself, how have you created or cultivated that work life for your team to feel, whether it's flow or peace at work or whatever you've done? Because it sounds like you're very emotionally aware. I think you would want to bring that into your team. I think it's a gift that you have. You have these calm vibes about you. I really like it. So how are you putting that into your business as a practice owner?
So I went through all those years of infertility. I was doing a lot of self-leadership, almost becoming a self-leadership master. And then I realized that actually at that time I was learning to build my team. It takes some time. And I decided that, okay, enough is enough. There are certain people in my team that I'm going to make a decision that I don't want on my team anymore.
Red flag.
And whoever I now recruit and whoever is existing that I want to keep, I'm going to actually teach them self-leadership. So indirectly, in my own way, I coached them. I taught them self-leadership. I taught them self-accountability. When they had certain tasks that I didn't want to micromanage, I wanted to delegate out, and how to be accountable and be proud of the things that they were doing.
Yes.
One of the things is, and I think my team tells me this, is I just came back from holiday, and on Tuesday, everyone just gave me this giant group hug. And they were just saying, they're like, oh my God, like we've missed your energy. Like we've missed you so much. And you need to not go away because we miss you too much. And it was really genuine, like it wasn't even like every person that then came on Wednesday, it was the same thing. And one of the things that my team says to me is that, you know what, like you show up as such a positive person, as someone who does so much. We can't even believe all the things that you do. And then you still have a smile on your face, you're still calm, you still always have time for everyone, you're great with your patients, you're so patient with them. And they always say, like, in a sense that we're taking that from you. So they're observing the thing, how I'm leading. And I'm now teaching them to become self-leaders and lead in a sense, like, my team leaders are also leading. So, and nurses, they're all leading that surgery. They're managing your surgery for you, So everyone is a leader, but it starts with the inner leadership first. And so I talk about this all the time. We talk about it, discuss it in team meetings. And the way I show up, my team shows up in the same way. And I think that's really important.
You're leading by example.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's so lovely that you say that, like, because when I went on mat leave and I came back and they're like, oh, we missed you, and it's your energy, and when you come in, everyone feels excited, and that's why we're smiling as you were saying it, because it's such a beautiful compliment to hear, and it's so warm, because no matter what's going on in your life, you always make sure you show up for your team that way. But I don't think everyone is able to do that. So what advice would you give to practice owners that want to be able to cultivate a team like that, or that type of leadership inside their team, but they don't know where to begin because they're not naturally like that?
Like that, yeah. And look, not everyone is, but I think that to some degree you can learn. You can learn little things that you can put in place. I think as women, one of our strengths are that we are intuitive and we are compassionate. Okay, so it's about leaning into your strengths and recognizing, what am I really good at? I might not be good at all these other things that this female leader is, but what am I good at? And I think authenticity comes such a long way. And I think just be yourself, like stay in your lane, and be kind, compassionate, strong, all these strengths that we have as women, just be that. And just by simply being that every single day, you'll start to see that other people will slowly start to follow, and it's also about verbalizing the type of team that you want, the culture that you want. I'm talking about it all the time. It's almost like a self-affirmation, but I'm also telling everyone else as well,
What are you telling them?
Like, for example, I have a rule, no drama. I don't want any drama, okay? I really believe that that the environment that we work in really contributes and influences who we are and how we're evolving and who we're becoming. And so I want to create the most positive environment with a lot of growth in there for every single person of the team, not just for myself. And so I start to create that team spirit. Who wants to work in a positive, supportive environment where you can grow and you can thrive? If you ask that question, who on your team would not put their hand up for that? Well, great. Well, everyone wants that. Well, how do we create it? It doesn't have to be that you have to make all the rules. Put it out to them and say, right, okay, well, what do you think needs changing? What else can we create? And then it's repetition. You don't just do that like one meeting and then that's it for 5 years. You have to do that every few months. So, yeah, you've got to look at like, well, what works, what doesn't work. You recognize people for any contributions that they've made, any good work that they've done. People always want to be complimented and
Feel valued.
they want that gratitude, shown towards them. So always come with that as well.
So now, how do you do that? Like, a lot of questions now you'll notice in our Her Practice group is women are asking, how can I be firm, be a leader, but not be the bitch? Sometimes as female leaders, you can come across that way. So how do we step that tricky line?
So I think that is very specific to certain situations. Okay, if we think about that itself, that how do I come across friendly but not come across as a bitch? It's very much around a specific situation. And I think you've got to create a very distinct boundary between friendliness and friendship. Okay? So I'm friendly with all my team, but there is no real friendship, if you know what I mean. And so that friendliness also has a boundary. And when I need to have that firm discussion with them, usually I will always pull up a policy or a procedure or something to do with the practice. I don't make it personal. This is not personally coming from me. It's just our policy of the practice is this. Our practice procedure is to do this. Blame it on the policies and the practice. And then when you do that, then they know that actually it's not me. It's this document that asks us that we have to work in this specific way, or that we have to do things in a specific way. And that person has then crossed that boundary or not done that. Does that make sense?
Perfect. Because I'm literally thinking of all the examples that they were mentioning in the group. It was like the no phones, the no long nails, the no, and that's all policy.
And you don't have to say it and you can just come across compassionate and, whatever it is. Just look, we're all girls. We all like to have our nails, and and I love that too. But what our policy says is this is acceptable and this isn't acceptable, right? So what I allow nail varnish as long as it's neutral and my nails are short. I allow that in my clinic because I actually want girls to show up, be feminine, wear makeup if they want to. As long as everything is neat, tidy, they look good in themselves, that confidence comes out. When you can show up as a powerful, beautiful female, that confidence comes out. So I created that. And I said, look, this is okay, this isn't okay. And that's fair enough. Everyone thinks that, okay, that's fair. You've got to be fair. Right? So I think bring up the policy, bring up the procedure.
The policy conversation is, I'd find that easy. I think you'd find that easy because of the relationship and the way you worded it. It's all like, girls, I love it. I know you want to do this, but this is the rules. But that comes from that original relationship as well, of the listening, of the energy you bring. So I think even as you mentioned earlier about self-awareness, I think all these practice owners, female practice owners, need to start with the self-awareness. What kind of leader do you want to be? What kind of leader are you currently? And then I think work from there, because if you don't know who you are as a leader, then how can you be leading a team and expect X, Y, and Z of them if they don't know who you are as well? So I think a lot of people, they don't even have the friendliness with their staff, and then it's just barking orders. It's a one-way relationship. So I think that might be the source to start with. I don't know what
Yeah,
your
and
thoughts
I'll
are
tell
there.
you what it is. It's the self-leadership. It's the fact that we can't even be a leader if we don't know how to lead ourselves first. Right? If we don't know how to lead ourselves first, we don't understand what our beliefs are, what our mindset is, all these things. And these are all the things that I dive really deep in on my course. Very specifically is like, let's just unearth all this stuff. Let's just get it all out. Let's just reset, right? Let's reset from your authentic self. Like all these layers that society and family and school and university put on you, let's take them all off. And let's just reset from, it gives me goosebumps, I've just said that. But let's just reset, because it is really what I went through, like on a deeper level. And I'm getting goosebumps because I think that, the women that have been through that with me have had just such profound changes, transformative changes in their life. And then what's happened is that now that they understand them and how to build themselves up and their authentic self, they're just showing up in such a different way. And now they're showing up as powerful leaders. They can go out and lead other people. And the famous saying that you can't lead other people until you lead yourself first. And I'm a strong believer of that. But, just going back to that question, if we rewind a little bit, I'd also say to the female practice owners as well that it really starts from recruitment stage. Yep, it's about recruiting the right people. I talk about values a lot and really questioning them in a way that you're picking the right person. Unfortunately, in our industry, we are still going through a recruitment crisis. And it's not easy to even find people, let alone get them in for an interview. But when you do get people in, just be firm and stick to your script, stick to your boundaries around how you want to recruit. And it really comes from there, because I think often when we have a bad P, it's just that we've missed some things at the recruitment stage. And not to be fearful to let someone go if they're not right for your team. I think we fear that a lot as well. Again, because it's hard to recruit and replace. That's definitely, I think, number one on the list. But also there's a fear of, am I being a bad person to let this person go?
Yeah.
But I think if they're not right for you, you have to think of the implications of what you've created with other people on your team, and it will definitely affect that.
Yeah, it's like the red flag, we call it. And if you leave them around too long, it kind of infects the rest as well.
Mhm.
And you don't want anything bringing down the culture that you've worked so hard to create. So, yes, I do. What's that saying? Hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah. I
It's
think
hard as women doing that.
yeah, higher super slow. And you know what? We don't always have the luxury to fly fast,
Unfortunately.
but I'd say just be mindful and strategic in a sense because we are business women at the end of the day, about how we're recruiting, who we're letting go, how you're building your team.
Do you feel like these leadership skills that you've got in business have helped you in motherhood in any way?
Oh my gosh, yes. I actually think that all the skills that I built, self-leadership, leadership, everything has helped at home because it's simple things like delegation, for example. I just never knew how to delegate because I always thought I've got to do it. And that's one of the reasons why I was so overwhelmed all the time is because I thought I've got to do it or I'll do it best. That's even worse. But thinking that only you can do it, which is not true. There are people out there who can do it, and now there's going to be people that can do it better than you. And also, there'll be people that can't do it better than you, and it's also okay, depending on what needs to be done. I'm
Mm.
also very much at peace that nothing needs to. I've let go of my perfectionism and I've let go of what other people think. There's two things that I've done in that process, 15 years, is I suffered a lot with perfectionism, hugely, and I suffered a lot with self-judgment and judgment from other people.
I think a lot
Massively,
of women go through that, though. I feel like society
massively.
tells us
Yeah.
it's so important what others think of us and how we show up in the world is for others, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's from our upbringing, it's from school, it's things like that. And it was so deep rooted that it still shows up every now and then. I won't lie to you. But I'm just aware of it now and I'm just like, no, that's not happening anymore. So in terms of bringing work skills, home skills, I honestly think I've kind of blended the two together because you have to as a mom. So there's delegation at work, there's delegation at home, timekeeping on both sides, being compassionate, having chats, communication when you need to.
Is that with your partner or your child?
Both. Sometimes I'm like, big boy over there, little boy over there, and I'm having chats with both of you. We both need to sit down, we need to have a chat. And my son understands now when I say, come here, we need to have a talk about something, and I need you to just be quiet for a few minutes and listen to mommy. And he'll listen. And the same thing, I'll just tell Rishi, look, I need 2 minutes just to explain to you or talk to you about something, and I just need you to listen. So it's the same thing in a sense, right? Talking to a child or an adult, but it's about just being able to communicate what you need to in the way that you feel most comfortable.
Do you ever feel like your life as a business owner has ever clashed with your life as a mother
Hmm.
negatively and you've had to choose one over the other?
Oh my God, literally, like all the time. I just literally, I think it was this morning. It was this morning when my husband was still in bed and I sat down with him and I was just like, I need a cuddle, and I just said, I just realized now that I'm really feeling overwhelmed. Like before I went on holiday, I was like, I feel like I was on the brink of burnout, and you can't do it all. Whoever says you can do it all is a liar.
Life.
You can't do it all. And you know what? It's okay. And I think it's because we're such big go-getters that we feel that if I don't do this, the opportunity will go and I want to do it. And do you know what? I have had some serious self-reflection on this break that I've just had. And I've just realized that, do you know what? Like, I need to start listing down. I literally got, again, just a piece of paper. I'm in the middle of a safari in the car on the way to like somewhere to like watch a migration happening. And I found a piece of paper in my backpack and I just got a pen and I wrote down what are the three most important things to me. I was just looking out at the savannah again, just like really coming into myself on a deeper level and reflecting. And I literally got that piece of paper. What are the three most important things to me right now? And my son was one of those things. And I've just realized that this last year I've been spending so much time on Flourish. I have been doing all these things. I've been around, I've been away for weekends, I'm away on the evenings. I work really hard. The days sometimes where I'm working long hours, he's not even awake because I leave at like 7:15, 7:30 in the morning. And I sometimes don't get back till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and he's already then really tired, and I get a kiss and a cuddle, but I don't really see him and spend time with him. But he's 4.5 now, and I've just realized that I want to spend that time with him. So I decided that I was going to let some things go. I reprioritized my list, and it's making peace with it's okay. And do you know what? Opportunities are always there. If you let one thing go, it doesn't matter, because down the line, in another year or 6 months or 2 years, there will always be something else. You will be attracted to that because you're that type of person that will be looking for opportunities, So you will find something. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with like not wanting to save the world now. And, I have a greater purpose, and that's still there. That's still there on my greater purpose. But right now, there are more important things that I need to do. And I'm good with that.
Because you became a practice owner. Was it simultaneously when you had him as well? Was that
Well, no, because I became a practice owner in 2017, and I had him in 2020.
okay? So 3 years later. So did you feel like you were able to enjoy him? Because after 7 years of IVF, do you feel like as a business owner, I get asked this often, and I did in my last podcast, was do you feel like you got a chance to take a proper maternity to be with him as a business owner? Do you feel that?
So look, I'm going to take a different perspective on this, because I think all moms are different. I think what we want and in terms of spending time, the things we do with our children, what we value, what we take back is different. Obviously, he was born during COVID, and we were shut, if you remember. And then I had him, and I had to go back after 3 months. But luckily, we were living in Canary Wharf then, so it was a 10-minute walk to the practice. I could come back at lunchtime. So I started working 3 days a week again after 3 months. And when he was, I think, 6 months old, he was in nursery 4 days a week. But today I look at my child, and he's incredible. He is so aware of his emotions. He's intelligent. He's independent. He's got all these things. Our love language is hugs and cuddles and love. He'll come back to me and give me a kiss, and I'll be like, no, come back and give me a kiss. And we still have that, and we spend quality time together. So what I've decided is that business is happening because I'm passionate about my business. I love my business. It's my first baby. And so I love my team. I love dentistry. I'm just one of those women that does love all those things. And again, that might not be the case for women. And, any time that I then spend with Kian is quality time. And same thing with my husband. We hardly speak to each other Monday to Friday. But then I really try, on the weekend, it's just about making the effort to make it quality time. And
what is your advice for those couples that hardly get to spend time together? So how do you now prioritize your relationship? Because we've talked about business, motherhood, but what about your partner?
And it depends where you are in your marriage and your partnership, how comfortable you are with each other. Because I think in the early years of marriage, we just wanted to spend time with each other all the time. Even when Kian was there, and now as well. Do you know what it is? It's just about saying, right, okay, look, this is what's happening. It's communication. Let's go out for dinner. Or do you know what? Have you got 15 minutes before we pick up whoever? Let's just go for a walk, right? Or let's just sit in the garden and have a glass of wine or whatever. It's just picking those moments. And like I say, it's being aware, first of all, that it's important that I do spend that time because I've not done it. And then actioning it. It's always that 3-step process, and then just being accountable. And it's creating a habit like that for all the little things in your life. And again, it doesn't happen all the time. There'll be months sometimes where you're both working hard, and that's life. And just be at peace with it. And then plan a holiday, plan that time where you can go away and spend quality time together, so it doesn't have to be equal and in balance and harmony all the time. I don't think that exists.
I think that's such a beautiful thing you've said. I think we constantly feel like we need to have everything perfect. Relationship, motherhood, business, anything that we do, friendships, we need to have everything going perfectly at the same time. But I remember seeing this analogy once, and I talk about it a lot. It was the cup analogy, where you're pouring water into the cups and you finish. And sometimes you're going to be a great mum and you've got enough water, from your cup to give to your kids and your friends, but then you run out for your business and your partner. So I love the way you put that not everything is going to be in balance or in harmony at the same time. and to be at peace with that. And I think that's so important because we are so harsh on ourselves. And that's something I'm working on myself.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I'm in my mid 40s now, so I think the way I used to think about things just 2 years ago, or 4 years ago, or 6 years ago is so different to what I want in my life now, how I feel, what I value. And I think that that thing that I did in the car, in that safari car, it's so important to do that. And I realized actually in the last 6 months, I've not done that enough. And that's probably why I was feeling overwhelmed, because I was aware that that was happening and I was trying to just mitigate that all the time.
Those three things, has it changed?
Yeah, all the time. All the time. You'll just realize it's a good exercise to do just every 3 months, 6 months, every quarter.
So, what I value right now is the
What do I
question.
value right now? What's the most important thing to me right now? Because life can change, anything can happen.
So, what would you say? What was your three? Sorry if you don't mind me asking. You put your son. Then what else did you put?
So I put my son, I put me in there because I don't feel like I've had enough time for myself, like just to relax. Even though I put these little things in place, I think I need more because, again, I'm doing so much. That's not enough. That time I have for myself is not enough. And to be fair, I want to give more time to my team because this is the thing, is what I mean, situations change all the time, is I have 3 team leads that are all pregnant and going on mat leave. So where I've spent all this time doing the self leadership, delegation, like handing it all over, it's potentially all coming back to me next year. But there you go, right? Like it's being
Yeah.
realistic about the situation that's at hand and how much time and energy is that going to take and what needs to go. What do you need to park? It's not about letting it go. It's what do you need to park for the time being to deal with what you need to. And then come whatever, we're in the middle, come a few months time, I'll probably try and do that again and see
Yeah.
where I'm at.
So it's kind of like your top three priorities right now, what you need to focus on. I feel like my kids will always be on there.
Yeah. Like if you feel like there's a lot going on in your life, just do it every month. You can even do it every week. And you might find that there's a pattern and it's the same and it's okay. And then suddenly one day it just changes. But it's such a great exercise, kind of similar to goal setting. Again, I don't do that. I do that definitely in a big way once a year, but it's good to do that a few times in the year, just to go back and be like, hang on a minute, let's just reset. Let's just look at actually, where am I? Am I on the right path? Am I doing what I'm passionate about? Am I doing what's purposeful? Is this working, not working? Do I need to shift some goals around? And not just like sticking with that original plan that you had because it may not be working, it may not be making you happy and
Yeah.
fulfilled. So it's always good to just go back. Reflection is so important. It's a form of reflection if you
Well,
think about it.
you said the Sarika 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago is different to the Sarika now, and you've changed so much now in your mid 40s. What would you say are your top three lessons that you have learned in the last 10 years and has brought you peace and brought you where you are now? And you say, this is my values now, or whatever it may be. What would you say they are?
So I think in terms of self-taught lessons, or from what I've experienced in my life, how have I evolved and what's made me now who I am, I think definitely the letting go of perfection. And I think with that, the a bit of that imposter side goes. You remember, there's a healthy imposter, but the unhealthy imposter, most of it's gone. I still have it every now and then I think it's normal. The feeling negative about myself, a lot of that is going. The self-judgment, I really, honestly, in my mid-40s, I do not care what other people think anymore. I really don't. I'm so past that. I was going to use a rude word there, but I held back. But I do not care what anyone
Like
thinks
Elsa's
anymore.
Let It Go. It's like my daughter sings that. I'm like, yeah, man, let it go.
Yeah, like totally. And I really feel that the 20s is where all the exploration happens. You start to go on your life journey a little bit. It happened earlier for me. The 30s decade is where you start to really kind of go through that self-development. You're going through your career, babies might be happening, house might be, big milestones might be kicking in. And I really feel that it's in your 40s that you are really starting to become at peace with yourself and you're really honing in on your authentic self. So I think that's where I am right now.
I have three girls, and I just And I think about it now, and it's funny, I don't care so much for myself, which is silly because we're talking about we need to care for ourselves. But even as I'm talking about it, I'm like, my girls is what I worry about. And I think, I don't want them to wait 40 years before they, start to be at peace
No,
with themselves.
no, it will be much sooner. It'll be much sooner for this generation.
Oh, is it how we parent them?
Because of what we've been through, and the world is changing so much, and also we can't predict. I think on a self-development level, I mean, I can already see it. You probably see it with like your younger cousins and people in your family. Then I look at like, the younger, like I spend a lot of time with my younger cousins, and I just think, oh my gosh, what I was going through in my 30s, they're already experiencing in their 20s.
Too young, though.
But you know what, like the self-development, it's never early or late. Like it can just start to happen, because what they're then realizing, what's important to them, their values, like again looking after themselves, their body, like their mind, their emotions, like earlier on, and they're
Mm.
not going through this chronic stress that we're going through.
But then I always keep seeing stuff about how they are chronically stressed because of social media, because of the bullying, the access to other people's lives that they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So it's like, are they better
We
off?
have different stresses though, isn't it? But again, what they will realize, they're probably experiencing that much earlier. We experience
Mm.
that a bit later.
Yes.
They're experiencing that earlier, and then they will then go through that time where they're just like, okay, I don't want this anymore. This isn't good for me. So everyone will go through their own cycle, I think. But we can definitely see, like I do like meditations with my son. We do like interval training, and we go for like make sure we go into nature to walk in this forest school and all these things that these kids do these days. Right?
Or school
Like we never had stuff like that. It was always like on my BMX going downhill like 20 miles an hour without a helmet.
without a helmet. Yep. I still have the scars. Honestly, I think I could talk to you forever. But I think I should end the podcast. But I want to end it with your well-being advice. So, anybody listening to this, what would be your top advice for taking care of their mental, physical, emotional well-being? Any of them?
So I think it's what we've kind of been connecting back to is prioritize yourself. Always prioritize yourself, and you've got to tell yourself that every day. It's got to be your mantra that you tell yourself every day, that if I'm not the best version of myself today, how am I showing up for my kids? How am I showing up for my team? How am I showing up for my partner, my friends, people around me? Am I really showing up optimally for them? So you are the most important person, and you've got to do everything you can in your own way to look after yourself on a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level.
Mm.
I think those four realms. And so I think that's the first thing. I'm going to add a little sneaky one in there, and I just think it's the other thing we touched on is that time is the most precious commodity that we have. We can't create it. We can't go back in time. So, if you are a mom, you own a business, you're ambitious, you're probably doing other things, other projects, is really learn how to manage your time well, but have awareness on how you're feeling throughout the day as well. And if that time management system is working for you, if all those things that you're doing is actually bringing you fulfillment, right? Is it making you feel more overwhelmed, or is it giving you fulfillment? Or do you think it's giving you fulfillment? Do you think it's going to give you fulfillment for the future? That might not necessarily be true. Really prioritize what the most important things are now, today. And if you can create that as a daily exercise, as a habit, and it doesn't have to be every day, it can be every week, every month, every quarter, whatever it is. But it has to be something that you do regularly that works for you. But it's really important to practice that regularly.
Good advice. I feel like it's directed at me. But I think the audience is pretty much like myself and yourself. Very good advice. Yeah. No, thank you so much. I have got so much to think about, and I think our lucky audience has got so much to think about too. So
It's
thank you so
amazing.
much.
You're so welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure. And likewise, every time we meet, we always feel like we just talk all the time. There's so much to talk about. And I hope that, the women listening to this have resonated, and, taking away one or two little golden nuggets that they can just start practicing and doing straight away.
Definitely I've got lots of nuggets now to take away. I need to go find
Brilliant.
some paper. Thank you so much, and let's get some brunch soon.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.